Christian foster care service refuses to sign contract banning anti-LGBT discrimination. So this is in the state of Kentucky. In Kentucky, a Baptist-affiliated foster care provider, Sunrise Children's Services, is refusing to sign a clause in a new agreement with the state that forbids discrimination based on sexual orientation. Currently, the United States Supreme Court is reviewing a refusal by the Philadelphia Catholic Social Services to work with same-sex couples as foster parents. Sunrise Children's Services officials are worried that the disputed clause would compel them to violate their deeply held religious principles thank you guys, my deeply held beliefs. By sponsoring same-sex couples as foster or adoptive parents. Supporters of the clause see it as a critical defense against discrimination. Chris Hartman, executive director of the Fairness Campaign, a Louisville-based gay rights advocacy group, stated that if Sunrise doesn't want to abide by the new clause, then they shouldn't have access to state money, state contracts, or children in the state's care.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. If those are the rules of the state, you're welcome to not follow them, but you don't get state's money. And so once you allow one person, one group to do this under the guise of, religion, it becomes a snowball effect. I don't want to work with adopting kids who are of a specific religion or race or ethnicity, or if the parents live in a certain zip code, or if, it's a slippery slope. I mean, they're welcome to not adopt to LGBT parents. They just can't get the state's money to do it. That's exactly what happened in Kentucky with the Kim Davis refusing to sign the marriage licenses. She can refuse to sign it, but she doesn't work for the state of Kentucky, and she's a representative of the state. So she's able to act as the state, and it can be separate from her beliefs. This is her job. And I find it interesting that people always have jobs or they work for the state or they're involved with the state saying that they can't violate their, personal, they can't separate the two, but yet they tell people all the time, we don't actually hate gay people. We can separate the person from the behavior. Well, apparently you can't, because you can't do your job, which is equal protection for everyone in the state, mandated by law, and still have your personal beliefs. So which is it?
I would just like to say that I flipping hate that in America, so much of our infrastructure, like foster care services, are religiously influenced. This is a huge problem. Relying on religious organizations to provide critical infrastructure for our society is such a detriment to our entire society. It reminds me very much of how a lot of U.S. taxpayer money that goes towards assisting the HIV/AIDS epidemic in Africa goes towards religious non-governmental organizations in Africa that institute Catholic policies regarding HIV prevention, which basically means you don't get condoms, So my money is going towards these organizations that are fully responsible for how drastic and dire the HIV epidemic is there. Just as another example of why faith-based institutions providing critical infrastructure is such a detriment to societies. It drives me crazy. I'm like, why are we still doing this?
Yeah. I mean, in the world that my dream world, this wouldn't even begin to, look at the subtitle. Baptist affiliated Sunrise Children's Service is refusing to sign a clause in a new contract with the state that bans discrimination based on sexual orientation, right? The fact that there's still, it's possible for them to be involved with the state before, we're thinking we're criticizing them for something so obvious, like you need to play you need to play by the rules to be able to be involved. I'm like, no, even if you sign this clause, why are you're a Baptist affiliated organization, why is the state even considering doing business with you? Like, what on earth? Like, let alone the fact that they're not willing to sign a discrimination-based law, limitation, right? Not even even before that, you're a religious institution. Why is your government, Suze, Rivka, both of you, this is your government. Why is your secular government doing deals, signing contracts with religious affiliated? Like, it's in their goddamn name. It's a ministry. It's actually a ministry. This
is also actually on purpose. There have been, I think Bush was big on using faith. He opened a lot more of the door to faith-based organizations being able to take the function of secular civic infrastructure from the government. And also there were several court cases. It's really late, I can't remember what they were now, about, and also with the Bush administration started it, and then it's been, this ball rolling down a hill, picking up turds on the way, of more and more faith-based organizations are allowed to provide services and take government money. And I think that it's really important to know that a lot of other institutions, secular or city or government or county, have been decimated by either the legislature or even the voters refusing, because they always have tax levies to fund these things and no one's interested in paying for it. And so you often get the religious people who will step up to the plate to fill this supposed void, which is almost on purpose, because they're getting rid of these organizations, and then they're saying, well, we'll have the religious people do it, because there's this assumption that they're better at it or somehow superior to caring than anybody, a secular institution, because they're religious. So it's blatant religious privilege and violation of the First Amendment in terms of government establishing religion, because if you're paying churches to perform government functions, then you are in essence establishing a specific religiosity.
Yeah, it's a huge problem. I just think it's hilarious that whenever Armin leaves, people are just saying that Iran was invaded. But my next point was, so I want to go back to my point that I was making about how dependence on these religious organizations to fulfill basically infrastructure that should be under the complete control of the state is such a detriment to us. Child welfare advocates worry that losing Sunrise, which offers residential treatment programs, would further strain a state system struggling to keep up with demand. Kentucky consistently has some of the nation's worst child abuse rates. So this means that they have a lot of children in the foster care system. Then it goes on to continue, quote, "You cannot pivot from losing such a large provider of child welfare services and not anticipate some degree of disruption," said Terry Brooks, executive director of Kentucky Youth Advocates. If they refuse, there's the deadline of June 30th. They could stop placing people with the agency. But this Sunrise Children's Services has been contracted with the state for 50 plus years, becoming one of Kentucky's largest service providers for abused or neglected children.
So they're holding the state and children's lives hostage to their irrational, bigoted views. That's exactly what they're doing.
Yes.
You need us so much that we get some sort of special dispensation because the children.
Yeah. And
Well, wait. So I hope the answer to this is no, fuck you. We're going to do whatever it takes to find an alternative.
hopefully, but that's part of the problem is that if
There's no
that
alternative.
happens, they're
Build
screwed.
an alternative.
Children are going to suffer regardless because of the disruption to care because of this. They're going to have to pull probably thousands of children out of their services.
And the fact that they've been there for 50 years also means that they've developed all kinds of relationships that you need to help with foster parents, with doctors, with, shelters, all these things that are now gone. And you have to start from scratch. So it's really, they're holding them hostage.
Guys, at some point, cancel culture has to do some good, okay? This is your moment, leftists. Cancel the shit out of this, okay? This is a target that you need to, we're talking about discrimination against children, right? We're talking LGBT. We're talking all the things deserving of an attack by leftists. This is a legitimate target. All the destructive force that you have, this is a big one, okay? This is the Goliath, okay? Right? This is not like some small Twitter user. You want to take something down? Here's a target. Go after this. Destroy this one. Shut it down. You guys are in favor of government intervention. Build something that could do as an alternative to this. This is a big one that there's no alternative for. Get government involved, build an alternative, and also here I'm promoting cancel culture. Cancel the shit out of this one.
It's actually funny you say that because supporters of Sunrise Children's Services are just saying that this is they're being the victims of political correctness. Good. But I want to highlight.
I support this political correctness. I guess this. Okay. Yes. Good. You should become. I hope you become the greatest victims of political correctness.
I want to highlight also that there is a long-running federal lawsuit alleged against Sunrise that they imposed religious indoctrination on children, and also that the aspect of them not wanting to comply with this ban on discrimination against LGBT people cuts several ways. So it cuts in terms of who is allowed to foster and adopt children. So you're barring children from potentially loving homes in a state that has one of the most strained foster care systems in the country, largely because of how severe the opioid epidemic is. Things are bad in Kentucky in terms of the strain on the system. Also, this affects the children in this services care, right? So this could affect one of the gay rights advocates saying was that he was worried that LGBT children in Sunrise's care are deeply closeted and hide their sexual orientation and out of fear of facing indoctrination or being proselytized too. So I think those are very key things to highlight as well. One, that there's this ongoing lawsuit about religious indoctrination. It's I understand clearly that they are a huge provider of care in the state of Kentucky, but with that going on, I think it falls upon the duty of care of the state to say refuse to do business with them. Secondly, it just in terms of how the discrimination hurts the children and on multiple levels, both in terms of them personally, but also where they could potentially be placed too.
Nothing says Christian love more than withholding protection from children who need it the most because of your ideology. Your role is to protect children, and you're withholding that service because you're butthurt over the fact that you can't discriminate against people because of their sexual orientation. This is Christian love.
I this is a point that just came to my mind. This is such a good example of why we shouldn't rely on services that should be provided by the government to be fulfilled by religious organizations,
Yes.
because our values will continue to progress. They will continue to get better. Organizations that are beholden to an inflexible doctrine are always going to permanently be a detriment to our societies because they cannot evolve with our societies. They are always Armin's like, yes, get it, girl. Like, they are always going to hold us back. This is always going to be a detriment. Like, because it is inflexible. It cannot progress with the rest of society.
That was, I have nothing else to say. That was such a great point. That was, you put it so well. That was fantastic. That was fantastic. People are saying good point, Susie. Mic drop, Susie. No, that was such a great point. I can't. Yeah, I don't think anybody could explain it any better. All right.
I'm just nailing it home today.
Yes, you are. Yes, I'm glad you see it. Okay. Yes, and also Marcia is saying, excellent point, Susie. Kentucky children cannot wait 2,000 years. Yes. Read this one while I get the next news.
Ghost Bunny is saying, I agree with Susie. Seriously, this is so dumb. Ministry services don't progress, and they don't have the children's best welfare in mind. Just, quote, how do we keep this kid in Christianity? Yeah, or like, how do we keep our policy in line with Christianity, not with what is best for our community?
Awesome is saying, wait, I can't. Armin is lucky to have Susie. Awesome, you don't even know a fraction of it. Like, this is like, you are saying like just the tip of the iceberg. You have no idea how lucky I am to have Susie. And also Susanna is full for every day. Right? Wow, we're getting a lot of love for Susie. I love it. Keep them coming.
Hey guys, if you're a fan of Blasphemy and Sexy Callie, like me, then you need to be sure to subscribe to our newsletter, link in the description below. Because if you subscribe, we will send you a free copy of our Blasphemous Art ebook. And let me tell you, it is the tastiest blasphemy that you can find anywhere available today. And we are so generous with our blasphemy that we continue to send you more blasphemy every week. So make sure to subscribe, link in the description below.